There are over 100 million coffee drinkers in the United States. And at an average 3 cups of coffee per coffee drinker, it's 300 million cups of coffee being consumed every day. At $2.50 a cup, that's a pretty nice profit. We know that Fast Track's convenience stores would like to be a part of that. And so what you need to do is ask yourself, what are your goals? You want to dominate the convenience store market in your area. You want to gain 10% market share in the coffee industry. And you want to partner with a local coffee company to benefit from their name brand. My name is Jamie Kerber, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Southern Grounds Coffee in Victoria, Texas. And today, I'm here to tell you a little bit of background on how we can accomplish those goals together. So we will look at 3 alternatives to introducing Southern Grounds into the Fast Tracks family. We will consider a self-service coffee station option. We will look at a leasing option where Southern Grounds would lease space from Fast Tracks within the store to do an in-house coffee shop. And then we'll look at a joint venture where Southern Grounds and Fast Tracks would partner together to operate an in-house coffee shop within the Fast Tracks convenience store. But first, what we want to do is review the evaluative criteria that we used to differentiate the alternatives. So the first criteria that we looked at was profitability. We know how important profitability is to Fast Tracks. The coffee shop industry is booming right now, and there's a huge market for gourmet coffees and specialty coffees, and so there's a really large market for us to tap into to make those profits. We also looked, our second criteria was at square footage. Square footage is really important because it can affect future sales. The least amount of space that you use within your store to operate your coffee service, that means you'll be able to use more space to sell your convenience store items and make profits on those. We also looked at startup costs, operating costs, and labor costs. Startup costs we know can average between $80,000 and $200,000 for an in-house coffee shop. And for a coffee kiosk or counter can average between $25,000 and $75,000. Your operating costs will vary depending on the alternative. You'll have operating costs that are going to be fixed no matter what because they'll be part of your budget for the convenience store. And labor costs will vary as well because you'll either have staff or you won't have staff. So we'll look at all of that. So our first alternative that we want to review is the self-service station within the store. This option would be the least amount of effort for the maximum amount of profit. The model here would only require about 90 square feet of space. You would basically just have to clear a counter. And this option would only cost about $25,000 in startup costs. The operating costs associated with this would be the monthly service from Southern Grounds to Fast Tracks to come in and service the machines and clean them and bring in new supplies. And those startup costs include all of those supplies and those machines. Those are those initial costs. And the labor costs, the only associated labor costs with this alternative would be an initial training cost where Southern Grounds would come in and train the Fast Track employees to operate and clean the machines in between our service calls. So our second alternative is the leasing option where Southern Grounds would lease space from Fast Tracks and run an in-house coffee shop. This alternative would require a complete build-out and remodel of the store. This one would cost around $41,000 for startup costs. And all of those costs could be recouped to Fast Tracks from Southern Grounds within the leasing agreement. But in this option, all of the operating costs and labor costs, additional operating costs and labor costs, would fall to Southern Grounds. And but so would all of the profit in in this scenario. So alternative 3 is a joint venture between Southern Grounds and Fast Tracks to partner together and run an in-house coffee shop together. Now this option also would require a costly build-out and restructuring of the premises that would cost around $66,000, but those startup costs would be split between Southern Grounds and Fast Tracks. And the operating costs and the labor costs that we've estimated at around $14,000 would also be split between the two companies. Now, an added benefit of having an in-store coffee shop is the added foot traffic that it would bring. With people coming in and out of the store, they will end up buying additional items on the Fast Track shelves and additional convenience items, so that will give you additional profit. Okay, so how did we actually evaluate these criteria, these alternatives against the criteria? We used a decision matrix, and the decision matrix allowed us to analyze and rank the relationship between the two of these. So in our matrix, we know that profitability is very important, so we ranked it very high. As with the square footage, we know is very important because that pulls in profits as well. So startup costs, operating costs, and labor costs, while very important, we knew we had some leeway there and ranked them lower. We knew we had some leeway in the budget, so we ranked them a little bit lower. And as you can see from our decision matrix, it calculated that the results were that the self-service station was ranked the highest, and then the joint venture, and then the lease option. So, to recap, we know alternative 1, which is our self-service option, we require minimal space and minimal ongoing costs. Alternative 2, a complete remodel is required, and all the costs fall to Southern Grounds, but so does all the profit. And alternative 3, a remodel is required, but the costs are split, so are the profits. So, I want to thank you today for your time, and I look forward to a successful partnership with you. And now our CPO will come in and give you a presentation on our conclusions and recommendations. Thank you.